Yeah, my name is Rey Anzaldua. Yes, we were in court this morning, and what we were doing is actually challenging the trespass fee because they were only paying us $100 for a trespass fee. They were trespassing on about 30 acres of land to do some uh, soil samples and geological surveys and archaeological surveys. Uh, and we thought it was not fair. They just pay $100. Uh, so we went to the judge to ask for an increase in the fee, and basically the judge denied it. And that's kind of telling as to what's going to happen later on,
Yeah.
because the way the judge was talking, it's a given that she can't do very much because of the laws that are waived. I think that's what she was talking about, and they waived somewhere, I don't know, 28, 30 laws, and that is hurting us a lot because we don't have, in my opinion, we don't have any due process, because if you're restricted into actually challenging the government in court, to me that's not due process, and it's not equal protection under the law either.
Yeah.
And this is contrary to the Fifth Amendment,
Mhm.
and that to me that's un-American. I mean, a citizen has to have a way to challenge the government.
Yeah.
Uh, and they're not giving us that opportunity to do that. This is not my first fight with the border wall. 10 years ago, we had to fight this with my father's side of the family. This particular fight here is with my mother's side of the family, and I still have an interest in this land. So that's what I see. I see that there's no equal protection,
Mhm.
and that's the politicians that waived all these laws.
Yeah.
And again, this is my opinion. Normally they say, well, you're bringing up the race issue,
Mm-hmm.
but it is a race issue, in my opinion. And we're not bringing it up; it's brought up by somebody else. Because the reason I'm saying that, something similar happened in North Texas,
Mhm.
in the Red River area, where the U.S. government, the Bureau of Land Management, was taking some land by eminent domain
Mm-hmm.
of some ranchers up there, and Senator Cornyn, Senator Cruz, and a lot of politicians were outraged that they were taking Texans' land.
Yeah.
So I'm wondering, where's the outrage over here? Are we not Texans or Americans?
That's a really good point.
I mean, are they more American than we are?
Yeah.
It's very frustrating to see these politicians, helping somebody somewhere, and which are their constituents, and that's what they're supposed to do.
Mm-hmm.
But we're also constituents, and they're supposed to help us too.
Yeah.
And they haven't done it. They haven't even attempted to contact us. In fact, while I was in Washington trying to lobby Congress about not constructing the border wall, I could not talk to any of our to our senators, either Senator Cruz or Senator Cornyn. They were not interested in talking to us about the wall. So really, we didn't meet with them. In fact, we didn't meet with any Republican.
Really?
No, because they would not meet with us at all. So it's kind of frustrating when that happens. When politicians will not meet with you. Now, the senators, we're their constituents. Now, the other politicians, like House members, we're not their constituents. They got a district, and they probably would meet with their constituents. I don't know. We did meet with our representatives from the area,
Mm-hmm.
but no Republican senator or congressman would talk to us.
So you tried to contact them when you were in. How many of you were? Was it just you, or was there a group of you lobbying in DC?
There were several of us. I went twice. Once with the Defenders of Wildlife, and the second time with the Sierra Club.
Oh wow! Okay.
And maybe it's because they were the ones trying to set up the appointments.
Oh really?
It could be that. I don't know. I didn't try to set them up myself. The only one that I did set up was with Congressman Filimon Vela, because I'm in his district.
Yeah.
So that's the only congressman that I personally set up an appointment with. But we did meet with some senators, but they were all Democrats from the Northeast.
Really, that's really interesting. So they were the only ones that would meet you when you guys were up there.
Yeah.
But only the one from your district. No one else would meet with you.
No, well, our representatives from different areas. We met a lot of different representatives.
Okay.
But they were all Democrats.
Yeah, that's interesting. And so, why exactly did you want to reach out to the Republicans about this as well? Oh.
Call from Fred Cavazos.
Oh. I gotta answer this call.
Sure.
Hello, Fred. I'm in the river, Fred. I'll be there in about 10 minutes. Okay. Yeah, the reporter is there already.
Oh, I see.
Yeah. Okay. What else? I mean, we still got another 5 minutes.
Yeah. You were talking earlier about your family and your mother and your father and how long they've been on the land. Because I think that's really important. In many ways, it gets forgotten with this wall that's trying to come through and this eminent domain and the surveying and all of the other business. Could you just talk a little about what the land means to you and what the feasibility and the possibility of a wall means, especially with your family having been here for such a long period of time?
Yeah. Well, both sides of the family, my father's side of the family and my mother's side of the family, have been here since the 1750s.
Yeah. Wow.
My father's side of the family, they had 3 land grants, and they had 3 land grants because there were a lot of intermarriages within the family. So, because of that, I have great grandfathers that either grandmothers that married into the family or out of the family, into the family. So in this, there were riverfront lots actually. Like there were about between 16 and 18,000 acres of land a few miles downriver. On my mother's side of the family is the Cavazos. They owned a lot of land here. Jose Narciso, which was one of my great grandfathers, he had a land grant that was over 600,000 acres. But we're also part of the Cardenas family, the Ramirez family, the Guerra family. They're all intermarried with the Cavazos. And between all of them, they actually had over 1 million acres of land here.
Wow.
Lots of land. In El Granjeno, we've lost most of it. The only thing that's left is the community of El Granjeno. It's a small community, and we're all relatives there. And it's only about probably 100 acres or less. And that's what we have of the old land grant. That's what we have left after thousands of acres. The Cavazos, well, the King Ranch got most of it. So I don't know how much they still have left. But the King Ranch got most of the Cavazos grant. There's probably a few family members that still have a few acres, but not much. So we were, I guess you would say, land rich and probably money poor. I don't know. But I think what happened is when the sovereigns changed, and the United States, the people from the United States got a hold of the local governments. That's when they can manipulate titles and land titles and all this sort of thing. Because you go to the courthouse and you will see that, at least here in this county, people that purchased land back in the early 1900s, late 1800s, were either county officials or ex-county officials. And they would sell, let's say a county official or an ex-county official would get land, and then they would sell it to somebody else. And you're talking about thousands of acres in one transaction. You can go and actually research this at the courthouse and look at the land transactions, and you could probably see that there's there was some sort of a problem there.
Yeah.
Our people never knew what hit them.
It must be really, really hard. And so, when you were in court this morning, you were fighting for the land that you currently have, and the surveyors not to trespass on that land.
Well, the surveyors already trespassed on the land.
Okay, so it's actually okay.
Yeah,
I see.
we got letters saying that they wanted to trespass on the land, and we never signed anything giving them permission. So eventually they got a court order.
I see.
Got a court order giving them authority to trespass on the land without our permission.
I see. Okay, so it's already happened.
It's already happened, yes.
Oh, I see. I understand exactly now. Wow. So what does that mean going forward? I mean, what happened with the court this morning? And I mean, what do you see happening in the near future now?
Well, the court, to me, the court this morning was an eye-opener because maybe the lawyer disagrees with you, and I'm not a lawyer, so I really don't know.
Yeah.
But to me, it was an eye-opener because basically what I gathered from the judge was that, you know, her hands were basically tied because of the laws that they waived. I mean, she didn't say it in those words, but I think that's what that she meant, because anything that our lawyer would say, well, no, that's not the way it's going to be. This is the way it's going to be, because I have no choice but to do this. And so that went on over and over again. Every time the lawyer would say, well, I'll bring up a point. So, well, no, this is the way I see it. And I believe that that's because of all these laws that were waived. The Congress has made it awfully hard for us to really fight this.
Yeah. So how does all this make you feel? I mean, I see you're wearing a hat that says you're a Vietnam veteran.
Right.
I mean, you served in Vietnam.
Right.
You know, what are your feelings about this?
Well, I'm kind of sad and frustrated and probably a little angry.
Yeah.
Because you know, it's not only me that's a war veteran. My uncle Raul, that used to be a farmer here. He farmed this land. He went all through World War II with General Patton. He was the tank commander during the Second World War, and he went all from North Africa to Germany with General Patton. So we're not people that are disloyal to this country. We've served, and in fact, I've served this country for more than 30 years, not in the military, but as a customs official.
Oh, really? Oh,
yeah.
Wow. Okay.
And you know, I mean, I retired as a supervisory officer, so I understand smuggling, all this sort of thing, and I know what they're saying is false.
Yeah.
Because I used to work as a customs investigator. Part of the time I was working with customs, not all the time, but I worked a lot in Mexico. I worked a lot in the United States, and I understand smuggling. I understand why it happens, and this is what people need to ask themselves: why are illegal aliens coming in?
Yeah.
Or illegal immigrants coming in? There's got to be a push and pull factor somewhere, and why do we have so many drugs coming in? In my opinion, the drugs, because we have a lot of drug addicts. The illegal immigrants, something's pushing them out of the country and something is pulling them into this country. Basically jobs. Somebody's employing them. Now the answers would be kind of complicated. I mean, but to me the reason for smuggling is very simple. It's a matter of supply and demand. You know, what is happening is money is going from the United States into Mexico, okay? And the Mexicans are killing each other over the money. This is no different than the 1930s here with liquor and prohibition. You know, El Capone and all those folks were killing each other over the money. And smuggling routes and this and that. And this is what's happening here. So what has to be done here is the demand for both illegal immigrant labor and illegal drugs. The demand has to be reduced somehow. It's probably a very long-term solution, and probably is a difficult thing to do. but that needs to be done, and it won't be done here because there are too many interests. There's too much money involved, and especially with illegal immigrants, there's too much money involved, and they're going to keep on coming. Somebody's hiring. Trump was hiring all these illegal aliens because they don't pay him very much. And then we got all these drug addicts. And unfortunately, with drug addiction, there are other problems with them because drug addicts commit other crimes. You know, you're talking about carjackings, burglaries, assaults, and probably other criminal acts. So there's some problems here, and they need to be resolved. And until the demand goes down, all these problems are going to continue.
So I have a couple more questions, real quick. Because I'm dealing with this class and I'm kind of representing them here and sending them back information for their class about Texas.
Okay.
A couple questions regarding that. One, what do you have to say? Some people, and I've been walking on the border and I feel very safe, but a lot of people say that there are people down here, the bad hombres, this and that. I mean, do you agree with that? I mean, people want to build this wall to keep people out.
No, I don't agree with it. My personal feelings about this is that a lot of there's some people in the United States. There's a group of people, probably, I don't know how big this group is. It's probably like the people that support Donald Trump. They're what I call nativists. And they don't like minorities. They especially don't like Hispanics. So that's part of the problem, because if there was a real threat regarding, let's say, terrorism, which I at one time Trump was claiming that there was terrorism coming through this, through this militarized border. Which if I were a terrorist, I would never come through a militarized border. They better start by looking at the Canadian border. Because there's a lot of terrorists in Europe, and they could very easily come into Canada and walk across. But terrorists normally don't come on the land borders. They come through airports, probably with legal visas. But if they're talking about land borders and terrorism, they better look at the Canadian border. I think it's what they're saying is just a made-up story.
Yeah.
And it's a made-up story because they don't like people down here for some reason or other.
Okay, two more quick questions. One, you were mentioning earlier when we were talking that La Lomita we're right up the road from, and I've been doing a lot of talking to people about it.
Yeah.
This class has been doing a lot of talking in class. Can you tell me a little bit about what La Lomita means to you and the things that are going on there right now, which Father Roy is dealing with a lot, and how that relates to what you're going through in the court proceedings this morning, but especially what La Lomita means to you, and what would happen if a wall went up there as well?
Yeah, well, La Lomita is very special to me because when I grew up in the community of El Granjeno, which is about a mile or 2 miles down river from here, and as a child I remember going to Mass at La Lomita. We used to walk a mile to come to the church there. And I'm assuming that even when I was an infant, my parents would bring me there. So La Lomita is a very, very special place to me because I believe even my great-great-grandparents worshipped there. And I'm just one person that has lived in the area here. There's people like me all over the United States that La Lomita is extremely special to them. And to probably other people. This is a very historic church as far as we're concerned, and it needs to be preserved. A wall they should not tear down this church or restrict entry into this church because of a wall. This church is very, very special to us. I mean, it's extremely special to us, and people need to understand that, and people need to actually fight to preserve this church.
Yeah. Another question along those lines. I've been walking, and oftentimes I see the wall, and I know the Rio Grande is right on the other side. I saw it where it comes into the Gulf. Yeah. For me, that was really special. But this is really the first time. It's right here over our shoulders. It's the first time that I've really had a chance to be around it since the Gulf, because it's been walled off. And I mean, the wall is to keep other people from coming in theoretically, but I mean, for me, it keeps me from going to the river, and it's almost a very spiritual place. I mean, what does the river mean to you, and having access to it?
It means a lot, and actually, in my opinion, it's a violation of treaty, the Treaty of Guadalupe Hidalgo, because we're from the old generation, the first actually pioneers to this area, Spanish pioneers to this area. So, according to the treaty, as I read it, we should not lose access to the river. Now, in some places, the wall is actually more than a mile away from the actual border.
Yeah.
And you go down the river here, and that's what happened here. And that creates other problems too. It's very lightly patrolled. You got several thousand acres. It's very lightly patrolled. And what do you have there? A no man's land, and probably a staging area for illegal activity. And that's not good, because it is in the United States, and some of our relatives actually had to move out of the area because it's so dangerous.
Yeah. I mean, it's interesting that you mentioned the Treaty of the Guadalupe Hidalgo, because February 2nd was the 171st anniversary of it, which is when we started this project, and I started walking from Boca Chica. And I mean, I think there's something really important going on there that people sometimes forget about.
Yeah. But, the problem is that the U.S. government really doesn't honor that treaty.
Yeah.
It's nothing new. They don't. The governments, like the United States, only honor treaties that they think will benefit them. Whatever in the treaty will benefit them, and this is what's happening with this treaty. Whenever it benefits the U.S. government or the state government, they invoke the treaty. But when we take something to court regarding the treaty, we always lose.
Yeah. So one of the big questions for this class that they're discussing is what it means to be a Texan, and what it means to be, it's a very interesting, and you've been here for so long, and I mean, there's so many things going on. Can you talk about what it means to be a Texan, if that even is a thing anymore?
Well, we're some of the original Texans,
Yeah.
But we don't get treated as Texans. We get treated some other ways. We get treated as foreigners. We get treated as conquered people. But they don't treat us as native Texans, which we are. And not only that, they don't treat us in many ways even as Americans, and we are.
Yeah.
People forget that we are Americans too. We are Texans too. But they tend to forget that. And like I say, many of us have served this government in different capacities, whether it's in war or working for the government itself. So we're loyal Americans.
Yeah.
But we're not treated as such.
Yeah, I think it's really important. Like I said, I mean, people focus, especially down here, on Houston, Austin, and Dallas, and people forget about the border. They forget about the valley, and they forget that there are so many stories that are really important to be told, and it seems like so many things about this area, the conversations are happening between people who don't even live in this area or don't represent this area.
Well, a lot of people, what I see, especially on Facebook, they talk about things they really don't know about.
Yeah.
They have no earthly idea what is happening. The only thing that they know is what they hear on TV, whether it's Fox News, CNN. It doesn't make any difference which one. But if you listen carefully to what those people are saying, those what do you call them, pundits?
Mm-hmm.
They'll always say, "I believe" or "I think." So
Yeah.
what does that mean? That means that that's their opinion.
Yep.
And I got an opinion too. I mean, people should actually listen to what they're saying and understand that it is an opinion. It's not necessarily true. It's just an opinion. It's not a fact.
Yeah. So what would you tell those people? Because, I mean, I'm down here trying to experience it for myself and to feel it and to slowly move through it as opposed to listening to those people on television. And I hope the students in Dallas are having the same experience. But what would you tell those people who who don't get to experience and have to listen to those pundits and those people on CNN and Fox and all of those channels saying what they feel and what they believe about something they may not know about.
Well, what I would tell people is stop and think.
Yeah.
Stop and think and listen to what they're saying, and understand that what they're saying are opinions and are not facts. Look up your own facts. This is one. I have a minor in history, for example, and I'd read a lot of history. But like what they say on those on the cable news, history depends on who writes it. I mean, so you got to read from a lot of different history books on the same subject to then make up your mind as to what really happened.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, no, I think you're completely right, and it's very important. Do you have a message that you would want to tell these students or these people, like something for them to remember, just in general and keep in mind?
Well, remember we're that we're human beings too, and I say that because of how those children were treated. And it seems to me that a lot of Hispanics, in many cases, in this particular case with this administration, he doesn't look at us as human beings, and it's very disheartening and frustrating because we all as humans, whether you live in North Texas or South Texas, it doesn't make any difference. You got feelings, and you got to understand that. You got to understand that we also have. We're losing a lot here, and think about what would happen if you would lose your house or your property, just like we're losing our properties. And the government just comes and takes it. For example, in El Granjeno, we've lost between 200 and 300 acres in the last 60 years. They just come and take it over with eminent, says we're invoking eminent domain, and you don't have a choice. And stop and think of what would happen if your home or your farm or whatever you own, your business, would be lost to eminent domain.